Welcome to ProjectME, the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, the founder of ProjectME, multimillionaire entrepreneur, former TV newscaster, money-making expert, female empowerment speaker, and self-proclaimed office supply addict. My mission is to take the mystery out of making big money. Every week on ProjectME, the podcast, I'll share success tips, strategies, and stories from other entrepreneurs, experts, and millionaires, showing you exactly how you can achieve your most exceptional life. Now let's get to it. You all know I love sharing my secrets of how I went from $17,000 a year to a multimillionaire. My top essential tool for managing my two successful businesses, plus my crazy life, is my paper planner. But not any random planner, specifically my Inner Guide yearly planner. The Inner Guide planner doesn't just organize my schedule, it helps me map out and discover my goals, dreams, self-care, and keeps my millionaire mindset on track. I want you all to get planning right away for 2019. So I arranged to get a special Inner Guide discount exclusive to my ProjectME posse. Go pick out your favorite yearly planner at inner-guide.com. And at checkout, use the code ProjectME 15% off, and you will receive 15% off your entire order. If you are driving or multitasking and can't write this down, the Inner Guide link and code is in my Instagram bio at ProjectME with Tiffany. And remember, as I always say, you are either planning for success or heading to failure. Welcome to the podcast and posse, ProjectME with Tiffany Carter. Today we have on Jennifer Gardner. She's a highly respected trial lawyer in Los Angeles and a lifelong successful entrepreneur who now helps other professionals develop an online presence and audience to generate massive sales. What's up, Jennifer? How are you?
Hey, Tiffany. I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good, a little hectic this time of year, but I'm really excited to have you on because what we love doing on this show is having people who have all sorts of different backgrounds, whether they are a doctor, lawyer like yourself, stay-at-home mom, they didn't graduate high school, a techie person. We love having all different backgrounds because that way we get unique perspectives on topics that we love talking about. So tell us a little bit about who you are. Like it sounds so crazy, like your path. Like most people I know who are lawyers stay a lawyer till the day they die. So you're kind of, doing some interesting navigation throughout your career. So tell us a little bit about that.
Oh yeah. Well, I've been navigating. I've been navigating in my career since I started my career because I was never satisfied with just being a lawyer. Like I couldn't do just one thing. I mean, in the first firm I worked for, they stuck me in the library with no windows and they had me researching these arcane research projects. And I was like, I'm going to die in here. I'm going to suffocate and die. So yes, my path has been all about being outside of the box, all about breaking molds, breaking convention. And I have navigated a really unconventional path for an attorney. And so, I've done a lot of things. I started my own practice so that I would have the time, freedom, flexibility to be able to pursue other things. And amongst the things that I pursued are an internet startup and real estate investments and a law practice. I've had my own firm for 26 years and a career as an artist. I emerged as an artist. I did a lot of photojournalism projects that got a lot of attention back in the late 90s when we were still shooting film, when digital was just starting to take off. So, and now I'm also a podcaster and I don't know, I'm just all about experiencing new things and just going into new worlds and really trying them on and being immersed in them, whatever it is, if it's a technology related or social media related world or even a case, it's the same thing. I'm a creator and I'm curious. I'm like insatiably curious. So that's my story.
Well, number one, because I'm sure you guys can hear it, we're having not the greatest connection. So I'm going to have you turn off your video too. It's on your end. Just so there you go. This is going to improve it. So thanks for bearing with us, guys. As you guys know, we are live. So this is how this shit rolls. So the cool thing is that you're multi-passionate, yet you're not so distracted to where you're broke. Because a lot of people who I know who are multi-passionate are actually broke as a joke because they can't focus on anything long enough to make any money. So how do you manage this like multi-passionate personality of yours?
Well, I'm not really sure. I just know that there's been nobody taking care of me. I'm not a trust fund baby. Everything I've created, every penny I've earned, and I've earned a lot of pennies over the years. I've earned a lot of money over the years. It's all been as a result of having to stay focused in order to survive. And I also like to eat well, and I like nice clothes, and I like to live in a nice house, and that's very motivating. So that keeps me motivated. It also helps when you take on cases with tremendous responsibility for other people's lives and you have integrity like I do, and you want to do only an excellent job because you're coming from service, and you basically, you take that responsibility seriously as I do. That kind of keeps you in line. It's kept me in line for many, many years because I just keep getting, the responsibility keeps getting heaped on me, and I have big shoulders. So, and I won't do it for free. So I guess that's short answer to your question.
No. I mean, and a lot of people who are listening, Micah, well, what do I have in common with a lawyer? Like that sounds, so opposite from maybe a network marketing business or, a fitness coach or whatever it may be. Well, what do you not have in common? That's a limited type thinking. This is why we have on people from all different backgrounds. Like you said, Jennifer, you've had your own successful practice for over 2 decades. So help us all understand how you've been able to create that success, but also maintain it, because that longevity is not common in this world, in this entrepreneur world.
Maintaining it by staying focused, by being committed out of necessity, because there wasn't anybody else footing the bill. I've been in relationships, I've been married, but I've never had the kind of relationship where I was looking to a husband or a partner to support me. I've always really wanted my independence because it gave me the freedom to explore and to educate myself and to travel and to pursue whatever interested me at the time. So, just work has been a means to afford that. And all of that has been a ticket or a gateway to the other worlds that I just feel compelled to explore, because sitting at my desk in an office, living life through solving other people's human problems doesn't make me a better human. And the only way to be well-rounded as a lawyer and be able to bring all the richness of that experience to the representation is by financing the experiences that are going to give me that kind of richness. And, it's really, it makes me very sad when I think that there might be people in this world who think that lawyers are not human. And, partly that's on lawyers because of the way that they show up in their professions and in the world. They're not always the easiest group of people to get along with. Everything you say about them is true. They're adversarial, they're confrontational, they're opinionated, they're argumentative. They're all of these things that most people don't like. And a lot of people are really scared of lawyers, but the best lawyers are the ones that are in touch with their human side. And the best way to do that is to, be introspective and self-aware, and in my case, and in my opinion, to experience as much of this world and the diverse ways of living as, the planet has to offer. And that's sort of been what I've been all about.
Do you think that's why you've been able to maintain a successful practice so long and have a consistent stream of new clients, is because that is what sets you apart? you have more of a human, well-rounded quality to you that, clients are attracted to?
I think so. I definitely think so. I've always stood out by standing for something different and by being different. And as I get more comfortable with myself, and as I bring more of me to my work, I feel like I'm better able to deeply connect with my clients. And I do think that that shows up in them wanting to work with me. That, and I do excellent work. I'm highly committed to the work that I do. But yeah, I definitely think that that's why people want to work with me. When they're getting me, they're not getting a conventional attorney, but I think that they see and they feel the difference because I have so much heart, plus the skills to back it up.
I mean, because we all know, I know a ton of people who have the skills that, because they hire me. I know a ton of people have the skills, even have skills that, I'm like, wow, maybe, you should do what I do. They have great skills, but they're not making any money. They're not attracting any clients because they're not willing to dare to be different, so to speak. So it sounds like, some of your secret sauce and your success is you've embraced, that human side and being different. You didn't try to become like a mold of your, law professor from college, right?
Yeah. And that would have been impossible for me to do too. I mean, I really hated law school. I really did not enjoy anything about being a student, the way I was instructed or the lack of instruction. The whole dynamic just really sort of offended me at my core. So yeah, I definitely did not embrace that. And I've always been very free spirited and just marched to the beat of my own drummer. I hate to use cliches, but that's always just naturally been what I did. And I know there's a lot of story there and many reasons for that if I want to get analytical, but not on your podcast. But it's just, I just embraced and really went for being who I am. And the more I show up as who I am, and instead of as a pretentious lawyer who's always trying to say the right thing and use the perfect language, especially in a courtroom, the more magnetic I become.
There you go, you guys. Hence the name Project Me. The more you embrace yourself and put yourself out there, you have to have the skills to back it up. Okay, well, most of us do, but what makes the difference between someone who's like really, cranking and making money and someone who isn't is being able to put yourself out there, be willing to be different, be willing to, set yourself apart. And that, and you're an amazing example of that. I mean, to be able to have had a, law practice for that long and it's not like you inherited a practice, not like there's anything wrong with it, but you didn't inherit, some law firm from, your family passed down from generations. Like this is yours, right?
Oh yeah, no, I started this puppy from scratch. And yeah, every client I have because they found me through various ways, either through social media or through an online search or through word of mouth, or I've represented them in the past, or I've opposed them on a case or worked with them on a case. That's how I get my business.
Interesting. So, would you speak, you've had a little bit of like a shift that you made in your life, which I find would be really helpful for people to hear, because we could be in a profession that maybe we love, but it's not, maybe we're getting a little bored of it or doesn't light us up as much. And you can make shifts within your current area of expertise. And you did that. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, like I said earlier, I've always been entrepreneurial and multi-passionate. And I had an internet startup that basically tanked when the iPhone came out because it was built on a different platform. And then the iPhone was a game changer, as we all know. And so at that time that the iPhone came out, shortly afterwards, we had the financial collapse in 2008, just when I was looking for financing to go really big, and all my contracts were killed because the big vendors who were contracting with me for my creative were like going back to the drawing board to figure out how to build apps to be on the iPhone platform. So that was my internet startup experience the first time. But I loved the whole technology world. I found the internet and mobile specifically so incredibly creative. And so what ended up happening was I had to go back to making donuts, I like to say. So I went back to being a lawyer. I'd only taken like 2 years off. I never really completely shut down my firm, but I went back to doing it full time. And I took all the information that I learned as a marketer with the technology company, and I applied it to marketing myself as a lawyer. And I was able to build a high multiple six-figure business within about a year and a half to 2 years. And I proceeded to work on that intensely. I grew to about 5 lawyers at its largest with staff, and many cases I had a trial set just about every month. They didn't all go to trial, thank goodness, but I ended up doing a really good job of burning myself out anyway after about 6 years at that pace. And when the dust settled and I was out of debt and I could breathe, I took a little time to myself and I looked around and I thought about what I wanted to accomplish next. And it was going back to the internet. So I made this pivot where I didn't quit practicing law. I still have cases. I still represent clients. But now what I'm also doing is I'm advising lawyers and other professionals on how they can also use social media and technology in order to build their reputations and get clients online and off.
So, I mean, you guys see in her story, this is true entrepreneurship. It's not like you always have a big win out of the gate. And those people who do, a lot of times that's their only win in life, is they have that initial win. And if it's a big enough one, great, you can coast on it for life, like you created like Elon Musk, like you created PayPal, but he was, he obviously was going to continue on from there. But, she's, her tech thing didn't go. It didn't work. It was something outside of herself, outside of her control. She went back to what she knew, right? Then that started not working because that's just insane amount of work. I mean, I don't know how many of you listening know what it takes to be a trial lawyer. I have a lot of experience in that in the business world, and I've been through a 10-year trial. That's a whole nother story. And so I know how much work that takes, and that wasn't working for her. So then she pivoted yet again. And now she's taking her expertise as a lawyer to help coach and teach other lawyers how to be able to attract more clients using online marketing. So you don't have to scrap the whole thing, whatever your thing is. You don't have to say, well, I can't make money at this, or this isn't working, so now I have to quit this. There's other things you can do if you're creative and think about how you can make that shift. So I guess the real important question is, are you happy with the shift you made, Jennifer?
Oh my God, I'm so happy. I feel like everything that I've been through has positioned me and led me to this point in time where I'm really able to help people with both the inner game of building themselves a really exciting business that they love, and how to communicate in a way that attracts clients to them, where they become magnetic, where they position themselves as thought leaders and as experts in their field so that they can get off the hamster wheel of work, 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 work. Oh my God, I have no time to network. What am I going to do to get business? Oh, let me spend thousands of dollars on some digital marketing company that's just going to rip me off. I mean, I'm a big believer in using social media and getting your message down so that you can basically leverage online platforms in order to draw clients to you. And that is my jam. And so I sort of combine the whole persuasive communication techniques that I've learned as a lawyer and as a student of marketing. And I teach that to professionals and I coach them to become basically leaders and powerhouses.
You see, that's why I love the exercises I've done with you guys and other, ProjectME with Tiffany episodes where you guys can make, I teach you how to make money by doing your passion. See, she knows, Jennifer knows her areas of what she's great at, right? But just because you're good at it, that doesn't mean you like doing it, right? So she also now knows what she doesn't like doing. So those are off the list. She knows what she does like doing, what she would do for free, and who people see her as the authority as. Not just people who pay her, but people in her personal life or, maybe even colleagues or whatever. And she's made a business out of it. You repurpose those skills that you have. And sometimes those skills aren't super obvious, right? I mean, it took you a while to get here, right?
Oh, it totally took me a while. I mean, I remember I'm a proud graduate of the Trial Lawyers College. I remember going to my first regional, and this is probably about 5, 6 years ago. I went to my first regional, and it was the first time that I was surrounded by a room of amazingly talented trial lawyers. And they got up and they started to speak during the evening. And I looked at them and they took my breath away. And I thought to myself, and I already was I'd been practicing over 20 years and I was a very successful lawyer. I had won almost all my cases, every jury trial. And I went to this college to be challenged and to grow. And I looked at these lawyers and they took my breath away with how persuasive they were. And I thought to myself, what are they doing? I want to do that. I want to not just go in there and, win because I'm good. I want to know what I'm doing. I want to master the skill of how they are persuading and winning my heart, because people make decisions, whether it's to buy or to decide a case a certain way based on emotion. How do we get them to connect emotionally with you so that they do what it is you're asking them to do, whether it's to find for your client or to hire you to represent them or to buy your product or to do whatever it is that you want them to do. It's the sale, right? It's sales. Sales are everything. And I saw these lawyers and they just moved me, to this genuine place inside myself. And I thought, I want to be that good. So I studied and I studied and I trained and I trained. And then when I emerged out of my my workaholism as a trial lawyer and took a breath and decided to look around and see what else interested me, I started following some social media influencers who I found completely by accident, who were killing it in live video. And I looked at them and I said, what are they doing? What is it about them that makes me want to just not take my eyes off of their content? What are they doing? They're doing something. And believe me, they're definitely doing something. And it's something we all can learn. We all have these skills. I don't care. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you've never spoken publicly a day in your life, not for 1 minute even. Everybody has the ability to be that persuasive. So I started studying with social media influencers. I paid them a lot of money to teach me what they did and what they do. And they taught me, and I'm still learning. I'm still on that journey. There's a lot of overlap between the two fields. There's a lot of things that lawyers don't know that they need to know, that the marketers, it's, neuropsychology and social selling and sociology and psychology and how you speak and how you persuade subconsciously to get people to want to follow you, to want to work with you. Anyway, it's an art form. It's so exciting. I absolutely love it. And I'm not surprised because having done a lot of different things in my life, I realized that the better I get at the marketing piece, the more it informs my legal work and vice versa.
If you guys saw me right now, you'd be like, her neck has to hurt because I'm nodding my head aggressively because that is what I teach. Two things. One is, yes, people buy things. I don't care if it's a pack of gum or if it is a jury or a juror, I should say, making a decision, guilty, not guilty for simplicity. We make a decision off from emotion at core. That doesn't mean you don't take facts into consideration, but really what pulls that trigger, man, it is emotion. That's why I teach emotional-based sales techniques. Now, what I'm dying to know, and I'm sure the listeners are too, because not everyone has, you've had the funds, right, to further invest in yourself at a big level and pay, big ticket prices of these, like you said, social media influencers to teach you their ways. Can you share some things that really opened your eyes really wide that they taught you?
Oh, sure. There's so many things. I know you teach this because I follow you, but one of the biggest ones is be yourself, be yourself. And the more authentic that you are, the more grounded that you are when you're speaking in your own genuineness and your own emotion, the more effective speaker you're going to be. The second thing is know who you're speaking to. What is the pain of the person that you're speaking to, the potential client or customer who's going to buy your product or service. What is the problem that they have, and how do you solve that? And number three, when you talk, it's not about you. It's not at all about you. It's about them and their transformation and how you're going to solve their problem. So that really needs to be the focus. They don't really care about you. They may be attracted to you, but they don't care how great you are and how shiny all the diplomas are on your walls, or even if you drive a Lamborghini. I mean, at least in my world, my people don't care about if I'm driving a Lamborghini. What they really want to know is how you're going to help solve their problem and what it's going to look like when you do. What is the paradise that you're delivering? The transformation? How much better are they going to feel? What kind of heaven are they going to experience once that problem is gone? So this is really where the focus of the communication has to be, about them, about solving their problem, about what their problem is and how you solve it. But in certain communications, you don't give away all the how. They don't need to know how to necessarily. So there's a delicate balance between speaking to the result and the transformation you provide, giving enough value for them to know that you're credible, and without giving them a Band-Aid. Because if you give them too much information that's how-to information, they're basically going to say, thank you very much, and take that and say, I can do this myself. Bye-bye.
Right.
Yeah.
And I agree. It is, I get asked this question a lot, like, what is it that, that you do that you have such high engagement, and, I have a 95% close rate, and, I'm from the sales world. So what that terminology means, you guys, it's similar to like what Jennifer was saying, how, in terms of her rate of winning, winning cases, and settling is winning, in my opinion. So settling cases and Jennifer's like, Tiffany has a lot of experience with lawyers. Thank you. Oh, yeah. That's what happens when you make millions of dollars, you guys, just so you know, like that's part of the gig. Anyway, so it's like my close rate is so high, meaning, I convert people who are, so to speak, leads who are interested, let's just say, in working with me, and convert them into, paying clients. It's a nuance, and it's not something that you're going to necessarily get overnight. This takes time and practice and repetition and finesse, just like anything, playing tennis, skiing, even things like traveling or baking, right? You could follow I think baking's I love analogies. Baking's a great analogy. First off, I fucking hate cooking. So that's an even better analogy. I'm like you. I'm like, Jennifer always shows like on her Instagram, like if she's at a restaurant, and she like the other day you had something about like this amazing breakfast sandwich place. I'm like, I'm obsessed with breakfast sandwiches. I'm like, I'm down. We have to go. Like, we can talk restaurants like all day, but you start talking to me about like recipes and cooking, I like glaze over. I'm like, I don't even know what's happening. So like I could, right? I've made things like banana bread. I can follow a recipe, but that's not what makes amazing banana bread, right? What makes amazing banana bread, like from my friend who owns She's Gone Bananas, what makes her banana bread literally like famous is she adds a little dash of this, a nuance of this. She's tweaked the recipe and refined it over years. So don't you think, Jennifer, like that's similar to like a highly talented trial lawyer or a highly talented entrepreneur, is those little like tweaks and refining over the years?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's why they call it practice in the legal profession or in the medical profession. I mean, it's a constant process of refinement and sharpening your skills and honing your skills. And every time you make a post, if we're talking about social media marketing, you're gonna improve over the last time. The most important thing is that you start.
So what do you have to say for people who, I always like to embody like what my listeners are thinking, and they're like, okay, like what about these bitches? I mean, I shouldn't say that's derogatory, but you know what I mean. I think I'm like a rapper sometimes. But like what about these chicks who are, 25 years old and have 600,000 followers and are making, $1 million a year on Instagram? Like they didn't have years and years in practice. Like how are they doing it? Like, can you speak to that? Like, what's the deal with that?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I don't show my body much at all when I'm doing video. Not that there's anything wrong with my body. I mean, I've got a good like average size and everything. But my content is not about how I look. I mean, in fact, people are telling me you need to post more pictures of yourself. My content is really speaking to the things that I was mentioning earlier. I post a lot of pieces that are motivational and where I'm basically, inspiring people to think about how they communicate in a different way so that they can communicate powerfully and persuasively and build their businesses. I don't have a huge following on any platform, but I still managed to get business from it. And in fact, part of the resistance that I had to even, showing up on social media, and we're talking like a few years ago, was I didn't want people who knew me professionally, in other words, as a lawyer, to see the real me. And the more I showed the real me, the more business that I got. And that's the irony of it all. And that's when the light bulb went off. That's when I saw the direct relationship between, okay, you show up in a courtroom and you're pleading a client's case and you show up as yourself. And how powerful is that? And then you show up in your social media, and the more I show up in my social media and the more of myself that I am, the more I seem to draw people to me and be able to build actual relationships with other human beings that lead to business, as you would say, sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was the secret sauce, I realized. So it's just, for me, the practice is about going deeper and how I understand who I'm trying to help, who I'm trying to serve, and my own experience within that. And drawing on that and being able to speak to that in my written content and in my spoken content.
So when you hired, I know you've done a lot of investment, because I'm a big believer too in like investing in yourself, personal development, but also, investing in hiring the best and learning from the best. I mean, always sharpening your skills. And I just know from our talks and stuff, I mean, you're a huge believer of that. And you've invested in some of, the most, well-known people in the business, which, means their ticket price is, quite high. Is there something like special, like they're doing like behind the scenes, like some special thing they're doing that it gets them so many, followers? And is there like, aside from the fact, of like the three things you told us, is there something like technically or a trick that they're doing? Like, what is it? Because I know you've like worked with a lot of the big players in the industry. So I know most of us are like fascinated to know, is there some commonality that like we would have never thought of?
Well, the thing that I just spoke to is the thing that most people never think of, because you don't know what you don't know. And until you really go deep and you really try to understand the content of the messaging, it's not obvious if it's done well. It's not obvious. So content and how you craft that content is one thing. But then there's also, you need to have proficiency with the platforms. You need to know how to use hashtags strategically on Instagram, for example. You need to know how to do a Facebook Live and be able to get that all hooked up so you can do that. You need to know how to write the copy for a landing page and a lead magnet and a Facebook ad that's going to convert and not cost you a fortune as you test it, right? You need to know how to actually use your content, which is how we communicate about who we are, in such a way so that when you're ready for the paid advertising, you know what kind of ad campaigns to run that are not going to like make you go broke and that are going to help you build a following. So yeah, there's so much to learn. That's one of the things that I think excites me the most about this world. I mean, I'm far from being finished or being an expert in any of this, and I just love learning it. And it's always changing. So there's always something to learn. Like I just tried to log into Skype, right?
Right.
And I haven't been on Skype in a few months, and suddenly I couldn't log into Skype to have this conversation with you.
Right. And like since you were on, there were like 5 updates. It's like, it's insane with everything. It's like, how many times are you guys like having to go into like the app section on your phone and update it? And you're like, Instagram's been updated like how many times in 2018? Like 20 times. It's insane.
Oh my God. It's insane.
So it's insane. I want to like go back a little bit to how you said like one of the things that was like really scared you, right? And further developing like a personal brand online presence was that in your, quote unquote, like, very serious, and somewhat judgmental industry you're in as a lawyer, showing up online and not showing up like in a suit with like, and, being, acting as, you're just like a teacher with a whiteboard, being actually like more of yourself and more laid back and like maybe showing your animals, showing, your morning coffee. You were scared, and it ended up the case that you actually are making much more money and people are engaged with you much more because of it. But what can you say to people who, one, are scared like you were, and maybe they're not scared in terms of a profession, but maybe they're scared in terms of friends and family? Could you help kind of walk them through some mindset stuff? Because I mean, it is scary. It's like, well, my dad's, really judgmental. And if they see what I'm doing, they're going to call me a crackpot. And, it's scary.
It is scary. Well, I mean, you can always, like on Instagram, at least, if you make a story and you don't want somebody to see it, you can set it to don't show this to, and you can specifically select, I mean, if you want to get that detailed. But I think that the most important thing that you can do is hire a mentor and be around people who inspire you, whose content you admire and respect, and spend as much time as possible consuming their content and then learning from them. Because in working directly with you, they will, if they have integrity and you hire them to do it, they'll tell you what they're doing. And, you will learn from that, and you will get support from the mentorship. If you really want to step into that world, I really encourage you, if you're listening, to working with someone who's been there and who's walked that path and dealt with those issues. Because everyone I know, the people that I trained with, the people that I want to train with, the people I look up to, they all deal with these issues. We all deal with them. The fear of being judged is something that like holds so many people back from living truly authentic lives. The concern about what will other people think. But I have to say that the biggest freedom comes from stopping giving so many fucks about what other people think. I hope you're going to have to give this an explicit in iTunes.
All of
Tiffany,
mine are all of mine have an E. It's like not even worth it. It's not even worth them like listening. It's like at some point something's going down. It doesn't matter. And that's the thing is I had to exactly get to that point where I just don't give a fuck. And if someone doesn't like it, which I've had people not like it, okay. Last time I checked, like, no, I'm not on this earth to please everybody. And the thought of that sounds exhausting. But I mean, it took a lot of heavy work with my own coach for me to get to this spot. And it is the most empowering and freeing feeling. I couldn't agree with you more.
Oh, cool. Thank you. So validating to hear you agree, because I admire you and respect you so much. But that really is the journey, and you're never really finished with that. I mean, I'm sure you'll agree. I mean, we're always, there's different parts of our brain that sabotage us. We have inner critics, right? We have various saboteurs. They all have different names. There's a book I'm reading right now. I can't remember the name of the author, but the name of the book is Positive Intelligence. And I was just reading this chapter last night. And, it's these parts of our brains are meant to keep us safe. But the truth is that, they undermine us from fully stepping into our power as people. And, the more that you are, the more you're going to inspire others and help other people do the same thing for themselves. And I have to say, for me, it's an ongoing process of identifying the saboteurs when they're speaking to me and trying to stop me from fully expressing myself, and developing the muscle to basically say, thank you very much. You're in the car, but you're just a passenger. You're not the driver. I am driving the car. And then to go even deeper, what I love to mine for gold, and the artist in me really loves this, is the inner voice that's always thinking and judging and assessing and experiencing that's playing through our minds all the time. If you can take your experience and you can put it into words, you're going to resonate with people and get them to feel things that could lead them to a decision that would really be useful or helpful for them in their lives. So I just encourage people to do that, and to be more of themselves, and to express more of what they're thinking that they are not saying, and see what magic unfolds.
What a perfect way to wrap up this interview. If you guys aren't inspired by that, then, I want you to unsubscribe to the show. If you loved this episode, and you want to let us know, which we would appreciate, just take a quick screenshot on your phone and post it in your Instagram stories, or post it on Facebook, and make sure you tag at ProjectME with Tiffany. Also tag at I am Jennifer Gardner. So it's like the actress Jennifer Gardner, except it's Gardner with a D.
And it's actually Jennifer B, as in boy.
Oh,
Gardner.
Is it? Oh, okay. So
yeah.
I'll make sure that's also in the show notes. But for those of you who are lazy, if you just tag me at ProjectME with Tiffany, when I reshare it, I'll make sure to tag Jennifer. So you don't even have to do that. How about that for making it easy for you? But
awesome.
But do that. And, any questions that you guys have about, what you learned on today's show, or you have like a personal situation, that's holding you back, or a professional situation that's holding you back. I know that if you DM Jennifer at I am Jennifer B. Gardner, I know that she will write you back, because she and I actually DM more than we even text, and we're friends. So because she spends a lot of time on the app, and she knows I do too, because that's how you create a community, right? Is you spend time in that environment. So I know if you DM her, she'll be happy to, answer your questions or point you in the right direction. You guys know you can always DM me as well. And Jennifer, it's such a pleasure having you on and learning your story. And thank you for sharing your truth and your reality. That this didn't just come easy, because from the outside, it could look like everything's been effortless in your life. It could. And I appreciate you sharing your truth about it.
Right. I mean, it's been anything but effortless. And, thank you for acknowledging that. And, the thing is that everybody has a story. And that's, tapping into that story and being able to communicate that to other people is just so useful for you personally as a human, how you feel more connected to other people in life and in the world as you go about your day and in your business. It's really the key to having a thriving business in the 21st century world.
Love you. So happy
I love
you came
more.
on.
I love you more.
All right. Thanks for coming on.
You bet. It was a pleasure. Thank you, Tiffany.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.